By any chance, have you, like me, noticed just a few changes in your skin over the past few years? Well, for most of us, these changes have meant a few adjustments to our skincare and makeup routines. And for me, a makeup product that I once didn't give much thought to has become an absolute necessity. And that product is blush. Since there has been an absolute avalanche of blush products launched over the past few years, I thought it might be helpful to test some of the most highly touted blushes to determine which ones really work best on our mature skin. So that's exactly what's on today's agenda. If this is your first time visiting this channel, I am really delighted you stopped by. And thanks also to those of you who are already friends of this channel. My name is Elise, and as a makeup artist who focuses strictly on helping those of us on the other side of 50 look our best, I love helping those of us with mature skin feel celebrated and supported by offering makeup tips, techniques, and product suggestions that can make the biggest difference for us now. And since blush is one of those products that definitely can make the biggest difference, let's dive into today's topic. First, let's quickly talk about why blush is so important. Number one, as our skin naturally loses some of its pigment and vibrancy, blush helps restore a healthy looking flush. Number two, without blush and with just foundation, our face can look flat. Blush adds shape and definition to the cheekbones, which prevents a one-dimensional appearance. The third way blush helps mature skin is that it helps counteract skin dullness by making the skin look more awake and refreshed. And benefit number four is that it can help create a lifting effect, which makes the face look more sculpted and healthy. There are also three extremely important considerations to keep in mind when we choose our blush. First, the formula. Second, color. And third, blendability. Since most of us experience our skin getting drier as we get older, cream and liquid formulas will often work best for us since they tend to blend more easily and don't settle into fine lines like some powder formulas can do. Plus, they never look cakey because cream formulas blend the most easily into the skin because of our own natural body heat. Liquid and cream blushes offer hydration, glow, and pigment, and liquid blushes especially are long-lasting. But I know that some of us do have oily skin, and if that's the case, powder and liquid blushes can be a good choice. However, if we have oily skin but like the look of a cream blush can be layered over a powder base, and we can set the cream blush with a light dusting of powder to further ensure its staying power. Now let's focus on color. While we can choose any shade that appeals to us, lighter skin tones can usually get away with using sheer formulas in the peach and pink tones. Mango, berry, and plum tones look amazing on medium to deeper skin tones, and we definitely need to choose the color that works best with the undertone of our skin. For warm undertones, coral, peach, and orange tones can be absolutely stunning. And for cool undertones like mine, pinks, violets, and berry tones can be gorgeous. And if you're not sure of your undertone, be sure to check out this video. Now let's try on some blushes. And because there are so many great blush options, this is part one, and we'll conclude with part two in the near future. First, let's go with some great drugstore oldie but goodie options, which have definitely stood the test of time. How many of you have this blush? This is e.l.f.'s Luminous Putty Blush in the shade Bora Bora, but these Luminous Putty Blushes also come in 5 other shades. It's described as a buildable and blendable formula that creates a natural luminous flush of color. The cream to powder texture allows for easy application and a seamless finish. It's also praised for being lightweight and highly pigmented, and it's infused with vitamin E and argan oil for hydration. And then there's also the fact that it costs just $7. I'll apply this on the right side of my face. And by the way, I'll use the same application method for all my cream blushes today, and I'll also use the same application for the liquid blushes. And I think to make things easier, I'm just going to put on this headband to keep my hair out of my face. And here is the shade Bora Bora. I'm just going to pick it up with my brush, make sure it's evenly coated on the brush. And then I'm just going to dab a little bit off on my hand so I can again make sure it's evenly coated. And as you can see, I'm tapping it on, and that's to prevent the makeup from underneath being disturbed. And as I always do, I go around the edges with my foundation brush. All right, let's take a close-up look of this e.l.f. Luminous Putty Blush. On the left side of my face, I'm going to go with another longtime favorite drugstore blush, Wet n Wild's Mega Glow Stick Blush in the shade Dusty Pink. I've always thought this was a very impressive pop-up color, which you can often find for under $4. It has a cream to powder formula that blends and builds really beautifully. It's enriched with vitamin E and it feels absolutely velvety smooth. I'm going to apply this on my left side. Again, I'm picking this up with my brush and then blending it on the back of my hand so it's coated evenly on the brush. Now this is a little bit deeper pink than the Bora Bora. The Bora Bora is a much brighter pink, but we're not so much looking at the color today as we are how it looks on the face after we've applied it. And we'll hit the edges. And now let's take a close-up look at the Wet n Wild blush. Now let me remove this makeup and I'll reapply my moisturizer and foundation, and we'll be right back to test two more. And by the way, here are the base products that I'm using today. First, my Versed moisturizer, then my Versed primer, and my Sephora Best Skin Ever foundation. Now let's go with a newer drugstore stick blush from Versed, which is a skincare infused product. This blush is a little on the drugstore pricier side at Target and on the Versed website at $14.99, and it comes in 5 shades. It's formulated with jojoba oil to deliver a lightweight and easy to layer blush that has good pigment and hydrates the skin. It's also extremely buildable and blends like a dream. And depending on how much is applied, it can look soft and natural or like a bold pop of color. I have the shades Deco and Bloom, but I particularly love the shade Bloom. Let me swatch some for you. As you can see, Deco is a much lighter pink and Bloom is a little bit deeper. Now I have to say, just picking up this blush, it's much creamier feeling than the two previous blushes. And I have to say it glides on more easily for sure, plus it does have a little bit of a glow to it. Now that could be something you do like or would prefer not to have. This is definitely an easier application. And I'll go a little bit deeper just again so you can see it a little bit better. And once again over the edges with my foundation brush. Next up is our first liquid blush, and it's the e.l.f. Camel Liquid Blush, which is an amazingly good dupe for the texture and shades of many of the rare beauty liquid blushes. It's very long lasting because of its high pigment color payoff. It has a lightweight and blendable formula and a dewy finish. It's also designed to be easy to use and suitable for all skin types. Additionally, it's 100% vegan and cruelty free. The shade range has recently been expanded to 12 shades and it costs $7. And since you only need to use 1 or 2 drops of this blush at the most, this small bottle will last quite some time. I'm going to put some of this on the back of my hand and then pick it up with my brush. As you can see, it's very pigmented. The e.l.f. blush is going on the left side. Now I did put just 1 drop on the back of my hand, and as you can see, it's really doing the job. Now I have to say, this does blend in extremely easily, and sometimes I know it can be intimidating to use a liquid blush because of how pigmented it can be, but boy, with just 1 little swatch and then blending it in well with the brush, you can really get a nice amount of application. And I hope you can see that it does have some glow to it. All right, around the edges with my foundation brush. And now let's take a close-up look. Now I must say, so far the application is much easier with these 2 blushes. They seem to go onto the skin so easily and blend in really effortlessly. Of course, the liquid blush will be far more long-lasting, but with a cream blush you can always layer it and put some powder in between. That will give extra long lastability to a cream blush. Is lastability even a word? I'm not sure, but I'm using it today. Before we test our last drugstore blush today, I hope you'll take a moment to tap that thumbs up like button if you're enjoying today's video, and also subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you. Well, the last drugstore blush I'm highlighting today is also the newest. It's Morphe's Cheek Thrills Multi-Finish Face Trio. I have the shade Après Ski, but it comes in 6 other shades and costs $19. Each of the palette comes in a flattering tonal color combination, and each palette also has 3 different finishes, so you can choose to use one of them or mix and match them. There's a satin cream finish, a luminous balm, and a velvet powder, which makes this product incredibly versatile since you can layer these finishes to create custom color and effects. The luminous balm provides a subtle highlight, while the satin cream and velvet powder offer different levels of intensity and definition. They're designed to build, blend, and layer seamlessly, which makes them easy to use for both beginners and more experienced makeup users. First, let me go ahead and swatch all 3 of these finishes. The luminous balm is at the top, underneath it is the satin cream, and then the powder is the bottom. And I'm a little surprised that the powder isn't more pigmented. I actually had to put on 2 applications to get this level of pigmentation. Surprisingly, the balm seems more pigmented than the powder, which you wouldn't ordinarily expect to be the case. Now I'll go ahead and apply this on my right side and then do a close-up for you. And what's really nice is there's a plastic cover that covers up the first 2 shades, which are creams. I'm going to start off with the powder. And as you can see, one dip in with the powder is pretty light. I'm going to go over it one more time, and you can definitely build it. And I'm going to use my fingers to apply the next 2 cream products. First, the balm, which, as you can see, is really highly pigmented. But it does blend in pretty easily. And now, this is really more of a highlighter. And again, if you don't like the look of some glow with your blush, this may not be the palette for you. And now for a close-up look at the Morphe side. Now we'll move on to 3 more blushes that are high-end. The first is the newest stick blush that I've tried, which is Rhodes Pocket Blush in the shade Piggy. This is a cream blush with a natural glow that comes in 6 different shades and costs $24. If you look at the reviews, you'll see that this blush is loved by people of all ages and who have a wide range of skin types, and really for good reason, because the formula isn't overly pigmented, so it's very easy to apply. And if you do prefer a rosier glow, it can easily be built up. And perhaps what's most interesting about it is how long lasting it is. I have the shade Piggy, but I also hope to get the shades Sleepy Girl and Plum as well. I have to say I'm not a huge fan of this applicator since the width of it makes it a bit hard to grasp, but let's go ahead and apply it on the left side and take a close-up look. And again, I'm just going to hit this with my brush and then apply some on the back of my hand. And I have to say that I just barely touched the back of my hand, and look how pigmented that is. And this is going to go on the left side. And I'm just going to go a little bit darker so you can see it better. This applies very easily, and it does have a slight glow. I hope you can see that. And it can easily be applied with the fingers as well. Just a touch of my foundation brush around the edges. And now let's take a close-up look. The most expensive blush is our next option, and it's from the clean beauty brand Westman Atelier. This costs $48 for the regular size, but fortunately, several of the colors come in the mini size, which costs $26. A really nice feature of this blush is that it's easy to hold and maneuver around the skin. And what's most impressive is that the Creamy Balm formula swipes onto the cheeks effortlessly, just like their contour does. All 6 shades provide a pop of color that isn't overbearing, but it's also not too sheer. And sometimes makeup products can accentuate fine lines and wrinkles, but that is definitely not an issue with this blush. Its creamy satin finish contains moisture replenishing ingredients like jojoba seed oil, antioxidant-rich grape extract, and raspberry seed extract that both firm and condition the skin for a smoother, more supple finish. This is very easy to blend with fingers or a brush, and it doesn't disturb the makeup underneath. I have the shade Pop It, which is a poppy pink color that I'll apply on the right side, but let me show you the 2 most popular colors in their lineup. One is called Petal, which is a dusty pink, and then the other is this Pop It shade. On top is the shade Petal, which is the dusty pink, and beneath it is Pop It, which is what I'll be trying. Again, I'm going to put this on the back of my hand, and then I'll pick it up with the brush. Wow, I have to say this glides on so easily. Probably more easily than any other blush I've tried today. It's like it spreads out on its own. That's incredible. I don't know, sometimes a more expensive product can be worth it if it's this easy to apply and really looks beautiful on the skin. And again, I'll just touch up the edges with my foundation brush. All right, let's take a look at it close up. I must say that going into this video, I really thought there would be one particular blush that I would like better than any of the others. I may be changing my mind. I'm not so sure anymore. Well, the last blush that we're testing today is from Revant Cosmetics. This blush comes in 3 shades, Magenta Pink, Dusty Rose, and Deep Merlot, and it costs $30. Let me swatch these colors for you. At the top is Magenta Pink, underneath it Dusty Rose, and then Deep Merlot at the bottom. The Revant Cosmetics blush creates a dewy, soft focus glow that doesn't settle into fine lines, and it's specifically designed with mature skin in mind. It blends into the skin easily with no streaks or cakey texture. It can be applied with fingers for a quick touch of color, or it can be layered for a more defined look. It can also be used as a lip tint. In addition, it's vegan, cruelty-free, paraben-free, and fragrance-free. And it's definitely a soft, natural blush color. I'm going to be using the Magenta Pink. It really is a gorgeous color. And then on the back of my hand, just to make sure it's evenly coated on the brush. And this is definitely buildable. The first application was a very light flush, and this is the kind of blush that you could easily apply with your fingers and it would work really well. If you like a soft blush color, this is really a nice one. And now let's take a close-up look. Well, here are photos of each blush side by side so you can decide which ones you feel look the best from today's testing. And I hope you'll share your thoughts on your favorites in the comment section below. In part 2, we'll take a look at 8 more blushes so we can eventually determine our top choices. And as long as we're focusing on blush, here's a video on best blush application techniques, which I hope you'll also find helpful, since blushes can sometimes be a little bit tricky to apply. I'll pin a link to it in the comments section, and I'll also include a link to it in the description box below, along with a link to my weekly newsletter, which I think you'll also really enjoy. Until next time, I wish you good health and happiness and hope you have a really fabulous rest of your day. Take care.